want to be as big as a mountain. I want to fly as high as the sun. I want to know what the rent's like in heaven. I want to know where the river goes. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter, deep in the bowels of our underground lair, undermining Insock and whistling Dixie. What's up?
That's wow. That's a lot there that you just said.
That is a lot.
I was whistling Dixie a little earlier.
Yeah, is that okay to whistle Dixie anymore?
I don't know. You know, when I was down in Atlanta, everybody whistled it down the street. Nobody cared. But maybe up here it's taboo.
I don't know.
Jay,
it's been renamed.
Yeah. Before I get to the guessing of the song,
yes.
We had another death in the world of professional wrestling, and I don't know if you saw this.
I don't know if I did.
Well, you know, we talked about greatest tag teams of all time.
You're kidding. Rick Martel from the Can-Am Connection.
No, Rick's still around.
All
but,
right.
We both members of the Road Warriors have now passed on. Joe Laurinaitis, who played Animal.
Yeah.
Of course, Mike Hegstrand, whose Hawk passed away a long time ago, but he passed away 60 years old. Nothing... I don't have any information on how he passed, but once again, way too young.
Yes.
Of course, he was trained up here in Minnesota from Chicago. And we talked about greatest wrestling tag teams
ever. Yeah,
that's Road Warriors got to be high on anybody's list. And so, great promo, great condition they were in.
Used to beat the snot out of the fabulous Freebirds.
Yeah, and all the NW Midnight Express.
Oh, yeah.
And, I saw all that on later because I didn't have cable back then when Ted Turner bought Jim Crockett Promotions. So I got all that from reading Pro Wrestling Illustrated, the hot wrestling magazine of the 80s, and I read that, held my breath for the new issue to come out every week or every day. They had house show results, which of course you can get on the internet now, but you couldn't then. So one of the best tag teams ever. Both members have now passed away. And you think about it, a lot of the great tag teams, the British Bulldogs have both passed away. I know Jim the Anvil Neidhart passed away not too long ago.
Yeah.
And Brett's still around, but there's just it's eerie to watch wrestling in the 80s and early 90s and how many of them are no longer around. It just is heartbreaking. I don't know why. I'm not going to throw out theories about drugs or the lifestyle or drinking or, not knowing what to do when your career was over, injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know. Just another sad day to say goodbye to another. Just everybody talked about Animal. Hawk was the character.
Yeah.
And Animal was kind of the anchor of the team, and I don't know if Paul Ellering's still around, their old manager.
I think so.
I think he is. He's got he lives on a ranch in Wyoming. Or
really?
Something. Yeah, he's a really interesting guy. He lives out in the middle of nowhere. Just another sad. I got to meet them at the Target Center when Target Center was brand new. They were the Legion of Doom in the WWF, and Paul Ellering and Hawk and Animal were signing autographs, and we all got to. I had a Hawk signed to Andrew, and Animal signed it too, and so did Paul, and this big picture of them, and I had it on my room for. I don't know what happened to it, but I didn't let that go away. I shook their hand, and nobody could touch me for a while, so it was cool. It's just sad that so many are gone. Anyhow, Jay, isn't it fitting that we talked about Ruth Ginsburg a few weeks ago?
You gonna guess this song before we go there?
Oh, yeah, that's "The River Flows," and I do know it. I don't know it, but I think I know it.
Really?
It's a kind of a alternative, right?
Wow, you're on the right track. I can't believe that.
Is it like the Smashing Pumpkins or something? Don't tell me.
Okay.
That's not right. I don't feel like that's right. It's a 90s, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It's an I can think of it in my head, but I really don't know who. Let me take another guess.
Okay.
Crash Test Dummies. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, my word. Had one hit and it was like,
I'll guess in a.
Okay.
I don't know it. Go ahead and tell us. I don't know.
Stone Temple Pilots, Where the River Goes.
Okay, I was in the ballpark.
You were very in the ballpark.
Crash Test Dummies. There used to be a show on TV called The Commish.
Okay.
Okay. The guy who was in, what was he in? He's bald, and I can't think of his name. Doesn't matter. Because he had a Northeastern accent. But I remember there was an episode where he was going to get his son. His son wanted the Crash Test Dummies for Christmas, so he went out and actually got Crash Test Dummies.
Yes.
It was not a CD. It was actual Crash Test Dummies. I don't know where you would have gotten them then. Yeah. Now you could get it on eBay or something.
Yes.
I don't know where you can get the Crash Test Dummies.
Oh, boy.
Sounds like something I would have done.
Yes.
Anyway, so and of course we're sorry to hear Ginsburg passed away. I mean, yeah. You never want to see something like that. But Jay, I got to say something here. Mm-hmm. Just about what we're about to endure.
Yes.
Because the president is due to nominate somebody this weekend. I think we all know who it is. I'm not going to. Okay, I'm going to make a prediction.
Okay.
And I suck at that, but I'm going to do it. It's going to be Amy Barrett of the 7th Court of Appeals. It's going to be her.
It will.
And this lady is going to get Borked, Thomased, Alito'd, Kavanaugh'd times 100.
Yes.
Hey, all those people are verbs now.
Right.
Okay. And I'm going to say one thing straight out. Because I don't care who wins in the Senate in November. I don't care. Okay. I'm voting for the president.
Well, I care.
Besides that, I don't care. Because both parties tick me off just 24/7.
Yeah. That's
if
true.
Mitch McConnell and 53 Republican senators cannot deliver a Supreme Court justice, and the president can't. Well, I shouldn't include the president in it because it's his job to nominate somebody. It's not his job to get them confirmed. If they can't get this through, they deserve to lose. They deserve to lose 100-0 if they can't get this through.
I think I will go out on a limb and say if they can't, that they probably will lose the Senate.
I think so, too. I absolutely think so.
But yet you've got Susan Collins, you've got
Mikulski. They can lose one more because Pence can break a tie. They can lose one more senator if they had to.
Yeah.
I think Collins is going to come around because I honestly think not voting for this guarantees that she loses.
Yeah, maybe.
I think Republicans are just going to go, you know what? You go. We've had enough of you.
Yeah.
And I think she's weighing the president down in Maine. Maine's a state he can win.
Yeah.
And I honestly think she's weighing him down. I think her not supporting him and him not, okay, well, then I'm not really going to do anything for you. I think that's hurting the overall ticket there. But I can't understand the oh, well, we'll just wait.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we don't care. Let's play it nice. What? I mean, come on. What was so much was sold? We knew, with all due respect to Justice Ginsburg, that she was the next to leave the court, whether it was by her choice or naturally or whatever. The next one's Stephen Breyer. He's 82. He's 11 years older than anybody on the court. He's the next to go in some way, shape, or form. I don't mean I'm wishing for his death. I mean, he's the next to retire or whatever. And to miss an opportunity to have a conservative in their 40s on the court is totally unacceptable. I mean, if the Supreme Court's going to be the final arbiter to everything, how do you pass up? However the circumstances, and I think we should let Miss Ginsburg be buried and leave her family alone for a few days.
Yeah.
But, how do you not follow through? What is the thinking? What, are the Democrats going to be nicer to Republicans because they let and President Trump has no choice but to put forth a nominee. The Constitution prescribes what he is supposed to do. If Ruth Ginsburg died January 18th and Trump lost the election, he still has a duty to put forth a nominee. It may be withdrawn 2 days later if he lost, but it's his duty to do so.
Right.
So what is the... I mean, I know what happened with Merrick Garland, but President Obama nominated somebody.
Yeah.
He did what he was supposed to do. The Senate decided not to take it up. Oh, you don't like it, win the Senate.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to say about it. Both sides are hypocrites as far as I'm concerned. So it's politics, but I'm going to dare make a prediction. And boy, I do not like doing this because I am, Jay, if you want to stop me, stop me. But I'm going to make a prediction that it is Amy Barrett.
Yes.
I'm going to make a prediction that this is all we talk about for the next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And you're going to see her get mistreated so bad. And if conservatives were smart, they'll shut up and just take whatever the Democrats say and put it in commercials.
Yep.
That's just all they do. Don't say anything. Show some class. Show some respect. Don't engage.
Yeah.
Just let their behavior. Kamala Harris is on the Judiciary Committee.
Yes, she is.
And if she had half a brain, and I'm not certain she has a quarter, she would let other people handle that. But I don't think she can help herself. I don't think she can help herself.
Yeah.
And it just may be the final thing that sticks a fork in Vice President Biden, because the momentum has shifted in this race without a doubt.
Yep.
I don't understand the polling. I don't get it. The polling internals do not match. I can't even get into it right now.
They're underpolling independents.
But the polling, Jay. All right, I wasn't going to get into this, but I want to get into one thing.
Okay.
I saw a poll. I can't find it today. I was going to send it to you. I saw it on The Hill, which is not any kind of conservative whack job publication. I saw the same thing with the ABC News Washington Post poll that showed Trump ahead in Florida and Arizona. Supposedly he's doing there, and yet that's Washington Post is not part of. It's not Scott Rasmussen doing their polls, okay? But the polling internals of this poll that I saw, and if I find it, I'll put it on the blog because I don't like to say it without backing it up, had Trump's approval rating at 48%.
Yes.
Okay, just start there. Whatever. I don't really know what it is. He got 47% of the vote last time, so I don't think that should be looked at as necessarily as a negative. But it was the internals that no one looks at, no one analyzes, no one talks about. The internals showed him at a 57% approval among white voters. Now, he got 58% of the white vote, so that is held steady.
Yes.
Call it steady, call it a wash, within the margin of error, whatever you want to call it even. It showed a 25% approval rating among black voters. Now, remember, he got 9% of the black vote.
Right.
And it showed a 37% approval rating among the Hispanic vote.
Wow.
And he got 29% in 2016. Now, Jay, let me ask you something. If he has the same percentage, and anybody in the mainstream media, you lazy morons could do this yourselves. If he's got the same percentage of white voters that he had,
yes.
If he has almost 3 times the approval rating of black voters that he had, if he has an 8% increase in Hispanic voters, black and Hispanic people are 25% of this nation. That's 80 million people. Okay, now they're not all 18, they're not all voters. Don't quote me on that. But if he really has that, how is it possible that his support is no greater than it was in 2016? I mean, something's wrong.
He hasn't lost support.
Right, but either he doesn't have that isn't real.
Right.
All the black people who are going to vote for him live in Mississippi or something. I don't know. Or the polling is way, way off. Because I'm going to be blunt with you. He could win New York with numbers like that if he really had that.
And, I don't think that they're being honest in the way that they're representing these polls. And that goes into a whole other conversation that is going to take a long time,
Right,
but they're looking to overturn things. If they can't get Biden elected, they want to cause so much dispersion on the election itself. I saw the polls.
The legitimacy of it is questioned.
Yes.
And the more that gets attacked, the more it tells me Trump's ahead.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't be saying that if they really thought they were going to trounce.
Well, and they've wargamed everything. I mean, from Biden winning legitimately to a Trump landslide on what to do in any given situation to try and, they're putting it all in on this.
And that's the problem with these mail-in ballots. I mean, they were talking on Channel 5 about not knowing CD1 possibly until like Thanksgiving. And it's like, well, I mean, remember last time it was very, very close. And with the increase in, you don't have to have an absentee ballot mailed in until something like November 12th.
What?
Like 9 days. Yeah, it can be post-dated or something. Really, but it's all in an effort to delegitimize the results. I mean, that's what the aim is to do. There's some people who support any kind of voting except on election day and at a polling booth.
Well, look at what's happening in Pennsylvania right now, where they've okayed drop boxes with no postmarks, and it can be up to 3 days late. After you have all the numbers, you can really go and drop 12,000, 25,000 in some boxes somewhere and make up the difference. I mean, it's a scam from the get-go.
If the president's able to pull this off, I mean, it'll be he'll do it against every odd you could pop. But you know what?
Yeah.
I'll say this: when I run for governor, I am hiring. Nobody has better internal polling in a campaign than Donald Trump does. He proved that last time.
Yeah.
And wherever he is, I am just going to say he's either going to win or lose by a razor-thin margin. Mm-hmm. So follow where he goes, because it tells me when he was sitting in Wisconsin the last weekend and Michigan, and all the pundits, what the hell is he doing there? He can't win without Florida. Why the hell is he in Wisconsin? The polls show him down by 6. Well, guess what? We know who was right there. So I don't know what to make of it. I just don't. Something is wrong with them is all I'm trying to say. Whoever wins, whatever happens, I don't get how you can triple your support among one group, increase your support among the fastest growing group in the country, hold the support of the people who voted for you last time, and yet you're either down or you're even or you're in the 40s. How is that possible?
I don't trust him.
He's got a 25% approval rating among blacks, but they don't know in 5 weeks who they're going to vote for. What? I mean, I'm just mind boggled how no one talks about that or challenges that or looks at that. I mean, it's just incredible. We're gonna do a national poll of 500 people. 500? What state are they from?
Yeah.
Where? I mean, I don't know how you do How do you do
inner city Chicago?
How do you do a national poll? What do? Take 10 people from this state and 5 people from that state, and you got 50 states.
Mm-hmm.
How can a poll of 500 should be laughed at? I'm not. Look, these people. I have to assume to a degree they know what they're doing, but I'll tell you what. I just think that. What we're in for as a nation in the next month is just sad. In every respect, it's just sad. And that's why we do what we do, Jay.
Yep.
And we don't bother with that stuff. Now, we got a great guest here. We've talked enough.
Yeah.
And we're going to give somebody else the floor. Jay, why don't you do the honor of introducing our guest?
I will do that. So it's time, I guess, we move on to the main event here.
A rarity that I'm not the main event, by the way.
Really?
Once again, on a rare term, I conceded. Johnny Carson doesn't give up his seat too often.
No, that's true.
But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this one time and then the next time.
Are you calling me Ed McMahon?
Well, I mean, Johnny did have the better body, so yeah, I guess so.
My word. At 135 pounds sopping wet, that's better? I don't know.
That's maybe a quarter of my left side, maybe? No, I don't know. At least I'm honest.
Well, that's true. It's radio. You don't have to admit to that stuff.
I've got the face for that.
Well,
that's the whole thing. I got the face for it. See, I didn't shave today, Jay, and you didn't either.
No.
So,
No.
that mane's getting a little long there.
I've got my COVID cut going. That's okay. That's all right.
You didn't get your haircut since March, but that was 2017, right?
It's coming up on a year, I would guess.
You're kidding.
Probably.
Really? Wow. Man.
Yeah, I look.
Watch those split ends. I'll tell
yeah.
you what, it's you really got to pay attention to that so you get healthy hair.
Right. Well, I figure we're like, we're living 1968 over again. I might as well look the part. I'm just missing the Birkenstocks and stinking of patchouli oil.
And we're missing the great. Remember, that's the year of the pitcher in baseball.
Yes.
I don't think anyone's going to win 31 games like Denny McClain back in 1968.
Are they having 31 games this year?
I don't know. I think the Twins are done Sunday, I think.
Oh, boy.
Everybody's been on the 10-day DL 3 times, so I don't think anybody's played 30 games. It's like a rite of passage. Anyway, why don't you quit babbling and get to our guest?
Okay. Yeah, it's our pleasure. We haven't had this guest on the program yet, and what's wrong with us? I don't know. But Nate Truesdale, who is a current sitting city council member in Ward 3 of Champlin, Minnesota, is with us. How you doing, Nate?
Doing well. How about you guys?
Fantastic. It's good to have you on the show.
Appreciate it.
I know we've been talking about it a long time.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Ward 3 in Champlin, and give them a little hometown flavor.
Absolutely. So, again, I'm Nate Truesdale. I am the sitting city councilor from Ward 3 of Champlin, and I've been on that board now for pushing 4 years. Before that, I was on the planning commission for almost 4 years, so a little bit of experience there. We've lived in Champlin for 18 years, and I decided to run for a second term. That's where we are today.
Well,
so Ward 3 of Champlin is completely east of 169. It's kind of the northeast quadrant, so portions of it are in between 114th and 117th. Goes from Winnetka all the way over to River Road. So if you picture the northeast quarter of Champlin, that's what it is. It runs along the Mississippi River on our north side. So,
You boast Mavericks Wood Grill in your...
Mavericks is actually in Ward 4.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, you're so close.
So yeah, we are close. If you headed up the River Road to 117th Avenue, you'd be in my ward.
Yeah.
So you're close.
109th is what runs across, right?
Yeah.
Now, I am right that that one of my favorite parks anywhere, Andrews Park, which is named after me, I think.
Oh, I'm sure.
is in your ward.
It is in my ward, and
I have hit some home runs in my life at Andrews Park. Not many.
We are very proud of that park. That's the best park in town.
That's the best park anywhere. Best city park anywhere.
I'll break your heart. It's not named after you. It's named after Clyde Andrews. And people that have lived in Champlin.
What's his middle name? Dale?
Clyde the Glide.
Clyde, yeah. People that have lived there for a long time actually call that park Clyde. That's how I can tell who's lived there for a long time.
I have heard that on occasion.
Yeah.
I really have in my sister's neighborhood because she lives in your ward.
Yeah.
And I've heard, Clyde. No, they're going up to Clyde Andrews. They say it really like that, so.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, Clyde is he and I go way back, so it's all right. We'll let him take the credit.
My goodness.
Yeah.
And you got Willie McCoy's in your district.
They're actually Ward 1. There's one little section of Ward 1 that goes from...
Well, that's good because I never win at pull tabs there, so I'm glad they're not in your ward.
I do have a lawn sign at their facility, but they are technically in Ward 1. There's a section of Ward 3, or I should say a section of Ward 1 that's carved into what looks like it should be Ward 3 due to population, from Winnetka to West River Road. 169 to Winnetka, and then 117th to River Road is actually Ward 1. Now, speculation would tell me that after the census gets done, that will probably be pushed into Ward 3 because Ward 1 has grown expansively, and I already have the smallest ward.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that the eastern side seems to be the I don't want to call it the side that has the less capacity to grow. With the older homes,
It's more developed.
Yeah, that's. A good
I
way
would
to
say
put it.
Ward 3 is 100% developed. There's no, I mean, you'll see some smaller homes maybe get torn down and larger ones put up, but overall they're all kind of the 70s and 80s built Ramblers and Splits. My entire ward is that, and that's where I live.
I love that. I so love that.
With the exception of some homes on the river, that's about what it is.
You know, I'll tell you something. If I'm ever crazy enough to try being in Nate, I'm not directing this at you.
Yes.
If I'm crazy enough to ever run for city councilor, I mean, whatever city I live in or city I don't live in, I want to put up a rule that says that you cannot build houses next to each other that all look like each other.
Yeah.
Because
They all have to be different?
I mean, the little these, and I'm not talking about like a townhome development or one of those like Winnetka Green things. I get that. There's people downsizing. There's people retiring and they don't want to mow their lawn anymore. And there's young people that use those for starters and all that. But what I can't stand is the neighborhoods where they all have the houses that look exactly the same. There's no trees. There's no character to the neighbor. I want character, Jay.
Yeah.
I need character in my neighborhood.
Well, we can arrange.
And I want a detached garage. That's another thing. I was a detached garage.
Why would you want that?
Because it becomes a man cave.
Well, my garage is attached, and it is also a man cave. And
Okay, well maybe
You'll have to go over and take notes.
And
We
it's
can
great.
I'll go
It's
to
great.
Nate's house
When
and
it's
check
raining,
it
you
out.
just walk in with the groceries and you don't get wet. It's amazing.
You got a big flat screen in there?
I do. I have a 42-inch TV out there, refrigerator. We're set to go.
Oh,
What do you
hey,
want?
all right. I can handle a
Yeah.
attached garage then. Okay.
Oh, wow. Yes. So why do we keep meeting at 5-8 Club?
Right? We can go over there instead. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Nate, why don't you tell us? You were on the planning commission, like you said, for 4 years. Then you decided to run. Why don't you give us a little bit of some tidbits about, what you dealt with when you were on the planning. We've talked about planning commissions kind of vaguely for 4 years on this show.
Yeah.
And kind of issues that were dealt with, making recommendations to the council back then, and then what got you to decide to run for office, and what are the kind of issues that you wanted to work on as a councilman when you got there?
Sure. So, yeah, I was on the planning commission kind of as a way to dip my toe in the water and see if I liked it. And also, I think it's important to volunteer time to things that are important to you. And the city of Champlin is important to me. So I thought, well, I'll volunteer some time. And I ended up learning an incredible amount on the planning commission. I'm not an engineer by trade, so I sat next to an engineer, and the things that I would look at while considering things and the things that he would look at while considering things were totally different. So I picked up a ton of knowledge from these people that just come from different backgrounds. So that happened, and I was there for a while, and I enjoyed it a lot. And then as time got closer for the election, the gentleman that served before me, who actually lived very close to me, there's one house that separated us, was planning on running for mayor. So I thought, well, I guess this is my sign to run. And I did, and I was unopposed in 2016, which I preferred. So it was a good thing that I was, because I had just taken on a new job. I filed for office, and then I took a new job about a week later, not knowing I was going to be taking a new job, and I was incredibly busy. So it would have been a disaster of a campaign. I just didn't have the time. But so things happen for reasons, and I ended up on the city council, and it was a very unique time for Champlin City Council. The mayor, our current mayor, was a city councilor from Ward 1. Excuse me. So he obviously vacated his Ward 1 seat. Myself and the gentleman from Ward 4 were brand new to the city council. Now, he was on the park board and I was on the planning commission, so we had some idea of what we were getting into. And so the first order of business we had was replacing the mayor on the city council as an appointment, because if it's less than half the term, Champlin's policy is you do that by appointment. So we went through that process and ended up making a selection, and she's still there. She ran the last election and is still there. So shortly after we selected her, the gentleman from Ward 2 moved to Arizona.
Yeah.
So we had to select, and I'm talking within months of being sworn in. So we had to select his replacement. So we had not new to City Hall, but new to the job mayor and 4 brand new city councilors at the beginning. So
Wow.
Boy, that's something else. That's pretty unique anywhere.
It's funny because a lot of times when people are running, they'll say, "Oh, my opponent is inexperienced," but yet when it comes to appointments, they often look for people that aren't experienced, that are moldable. I have found, and I don't know if that has been done. I don't expect you to.
Yeah, I mean, it's
expand on that, but
I think that what happens a lot of the time, and I don't fault people that have been appointed. I don't fault them for this, but they weren't geared up to run. They weren't planning on sitting in that position, so they have to get geared up and into that mode. And I'm not going to lie, it took us a minute to get our feet going, to get us all on the same page and get everybody going.
That can never happen sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. Tell you what, I've always believed, because my feeling on appointments, I like them about as much as I like getting a tooth pulled.
Yes.
Because an office has to be sought. And what you said is very, very telling, that you dipped your toe into city politics, served on a commission for 4 years, pondered running. I'm sure you talked about it with your family and all that. You make that commitment to go do it. I know you didn't have an opponent, but, you said it would have been a disaster. We don't believe you, Nate. You'd have done well anyway.
I would have been a disaster. How about that? I would have been the disaster.
But, there's got to be a different perspective from somebody who goes through all that and talks to people at their door and goes to the whatever Champlin's frolics is and all that, and somebody who just lands on a falls into a. I mean, I don't.
Right. They
I don't want
really
to
have a
denigrate
feel
the
for the
people.
issues of the city.
And the thing, I mean, they both had different experiences, and one of them had spent 10 years on a city commission, so obviously there was qualifications there. And they both since run and won, so that eliminates the whole thing. And that's the thing about our city council, is with all that, the growing pains, and if you go through tough times with somebody, you kind of create a bond with everyone, and you kind of know where everybody's coming from. There's sometimes that it's pretty amazing. There's times where there's 2 of us that vehemently disagree on one thing, but on the next we'll be united, maybe even for different reasons. And our group is strong right now, so it's a strong group, and we're getting things done, and we're doing it in a way that is pretty inclusive of a lot of different opinions. So it's been, I haven't been frustrated at a meeting for a couple of years. For a while there, it was pretty frustrating a lot of the time, because it seemed like we just weren't getting anything done, and we're finally through that. So if it was the way it was then, I don't know that I would seek it, but it's been really good, and we're making headway, and everybody likes to be a part of something that's getting the people's work done, and that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, well, let's talk about some of that work. Let's hear about some of your first term accomplishments.
So I would say the biggest one, and the one that most Champlin residents can see, is the riverfront redevelopment, Mississippi Point Park, and the Mississippi redevelopment right on the curve. That project has been on the table for 20 years. People have been talking about that project for 20 years, and it was. We're on our 4th mayor of that, and Lord knows how many city council members through all that
Let's add legislators into that.
I mean, it's been.
I've been hearing about that project for a long time.
It's been going on for a while. So the mill pond the mill pond just to the south of this got redone a couple of years ago. I would love to take credit for that, but it was set up long before I got there. So that was done, and it turned out nice. The project turned out nice, and so we're in a position now to really. It's going to be a destination when it's done. So that's in fact, on Monday I just had a meeting with the company that's going to be running our event center. I shouldn't say they're going to own and operate. It's not our event center; it's their event center that they're going to be running. I mean, they're going to crush it. It's a big event center. There's a restaurant component attached called Dock 21. So you'll be able to boat up. You could take your wife there for dinner for your anniversary, or you could stop in with your flip-flops and buy a burger and fries type of restaurant. It's going to be a great restaurant. They're professionals, so big attached event center that they're gonna own and operate, which is wedding venues. They're probably gonna have a ton of like corporate Target type corporate things there, which, as we know, is good for the residents of Champlin to have money being spent in our area, and I think it's a good use of the space. That's what's been talked about. There's been various things that have been talked about over the years of what's going to go into this area, and the only one I've ever cared about is a restaurant. I thought, how cool is that? If you could get a restaurant with a rooftop overlooking the Mississippi River, that's just great.
You got to have it. Go to Stillwater or Hudson. That's the thing. They're busy and they're popular all the time, and it is kind of lacking along the Mississippi. I mean,
well, in Champlin, as you probably know, before this COVID thing, but you couldn't, Fridays and Saturday nights, you couldn't get a table at a restaurant in Champlin. It was so busy. They're all so busy all the time, which is great. They're great restaurants, so that's fine. So I don't think it's necessarily, it's not going to come in and hurt another one of our businesses, which is always a concern when you're opening things up. It's going to add to our business community. So we're, I left that meeting, actually, when they were telling us all the things that they're going to do, and, I'm coming from the planning commission, I'm a parking guy. Like, where do we park everybody? Where are all the cars? They already have that all figured out. We've already talked to the Met Council about using this park and ride. We already talked to this business owner about using their parking lot and valeting and busing and doing it. They've already got it all figured out. And I thought, boy, am I dreaming right now? Like, this is exactly what we've been wanting the whole time.
Well, it seems like those roads up there have been worked on forever, is what it feels like.
Yeah. So, and there's another project going on right now. So there was the first project, which was I shouldn't say Champlin's project. The project in Champlin that happened to be US 169, which that was a nightmare for the city of Champlin to get through that, and probably even more for
driving to my softball games. It was pretty rough,
and probably even more so for the people that lived on the other side of the bridge, right? Because people in Champlin can turn off and take neighborhoods to get back, but you have to cross the bridge to get back to Anoka.
Yeah.
So we got through that. It was a necessary project. That the turn lanes were too short, so you're constantly having people waiting at a turn light at an arrow, backing into the main traffic. So it was just a nightmare. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's great today. It's not, but it's way better than it was then. And we were able to soften the curve. And then what was really nice is MnDOT came in and raised the speed limit to 45 through that whole area. It used to be 35. So turned out good.
I still get stopped at that light too much by Q Fantastics or whatever.
Oh, Q Fanatic.
Oh, yeah. What did I call it?
Fantastic.
Q Fantastics. I still get stopped at that light a little too much.
Nothing but professionalism here.
Yeah, so
well, that's good. That's something that they've been looking forward to. And
the residents that I've talked to about it, they're overwhelmingly happy. And I wasn't even able to sell the whole picture before because I hadn't talked to Cohesion, the company that's coming in and do. I knew we had to deal with them, but to actually hear them talk about what the day-to-day operations are going to be for their facility, now it's even better than what I thought. So the residents I've talked to have been happy about it. Of course, not everybody's going to be happy about it. There's some people that think that because there's going to be an apartment component of the area, 214 unit market rate apartments. That's obviously privately held and owned. Mm-hmm. I believe it's a beautiful facility compared to what we had torn down over the last 20 years. It's very nice, and it's market rate, and it's more residents to go enjoy the business. So. So that was a big one. We've been working on that the entire time I've been on that city council. That's been the overwhelming, dominating topic for us. I mean, literally going back to the design. Where does the road come in?
So now, where
do we park?
Are you in the final phases of it? Is the event center and the restaurant complete everything, or is there you mentioned the apartment?
Yep. So the apartment complex they're starting construction right now. Like they're moving dirt and doing all that right now. No, the restaurant. So there's a restaurant and event center that'll come online next year. There's going to be a pavilion of some sort. We're still in discussions about that. there's different. I think everybody on the city council agrees there needs to be a pavilion there of some sort, and we're just talking about the varying degrees of what that looks like. There's also going to be a public kind of amphitheater where there can be, like you. Could come out and play guitar for an audience. Yeah. So
is that an offer? I think that was an offer.
I'd rather you and I do our Boss Hog and Roscoe bit there. I think we'd rather do that. Or remember, I think the better one would be the one where you're McFly and I'm Biff. I think we ought to do that there. Remember we talked about that?
I'm working on Garth Brooks right now, but if that doesn't work, I'll let you guys know. So.
Yeah, well, we can open for Garth.
So it's very exciting. The park improvements that are going to go along with it are going to be like the original intent of this project, after talking to the mayor that started the whole thing, was to gain meaningful access to the river for all of Champlin's residents. And I think between the park component, the amphitheater for performances, the restaurant, the event center, I think it does exactly what the original goal was. So we're happy with it. I'm happy with it. I know my colleagues are all happy with it, but like I say, we were in that meeting on Monday, and it was we had some questions, but overall it was pretty positive from everybody. So I know that sounds like I'm making it a big deal because, and for a lot of people it's probably not, but when you spend 4 years of your life working on something, and you finally see it come to fruition, you're pretty happy about it. And our council can't even take full credit for it. It's been going on for years. So
but there hasn't been a lot of movement on it.
No, there has. I mean, finding the right user. We kind of made some changes on our economic development board and got people moved around a little bit there, maybe a little bit more motivation. So finding different people to work with. So it's been a long time coming, and we're there. So
that's great.
That is great.
Good. If I could bring up an issue, I know you're the issue guy, but I'm going to bring one up.
Okay.
No. We've seen in the news a lot about, public safety being a hot button issue at City Hall, and whether that's police departments, however somebody wants to define that. And I know that police reforms and all that has been a topic almost everywhere. We're not going to rehash all the reasons why, but what's the feeling on the city council toward the police department? You're on the fire board, which you guys share a fire department with the NOCA. What's the residents' feeling? Are you hearing anything out there about police and where does the council stand on funding the police?
I don't feel comfortable talking for everybody because we haven't really had it in a formal discussion, but I know that just knowing my colleagues on a personal level, they're all supportive of the police department, and I am too. And Champlin's police for a long time kind of had the perception that they maybe were, I don't want to use the word bullies, but kind of ticky-tack. They'd pull you over for 5 miles over the speed limit and give you a ticket.
I won't mention any names, Dayton Road.
Yeah. So, and that was a long time ago now, and that's changed, and the culture's changed at the department for the good. Our officers are very well respected by me and by everybody that I shouldn't say everybody, but most people I've come across. I've done ride-alongs with a couple of them. Great guys. There's actually one of our sergeants is a city council member in the town that he lives in, and it's been interesting to hear his perspective being on both sides of it. And we have a great department. I have absolutely, as long as I'm there, I always fight to make sure that that's fully funded. Our chief is a great guy. Just really a good Ty is his name. He's a great guy. That's my stance on the police department. We need to keep this nonsense out of Champlin, and it's got to stay. When all the riots were going on, I shouldn't say when they were all going on, but when they first started here in the Minneapolis area, I was on my way up north because I go up north all the time, and they called and said, "Hey, we're thinking about doing a curfew for the city of Champlin." And I said, "Okay, well, let me think about that a little bit." So then I hear that Brooklyn Park puts a curfew on. Well, it's getting a little close to home. They're along our southern border,
Mm-hmm. Big city.
It's a big city. The Maple Grove did one. All right. Then Osseo. So they're going, okay, it's getting close, And And then Anoka County. I went, all right, well, let's do this. Let's do this this curfew thing.
That's an interesting thing. Whose decision was it? Did you all?
I believe it would come down to the mayor would make that decision, but he's very much a feedback guy. He wouldn't want to make that decision if he didn't have the support of the council. So, I don't know. I guess I don't know if it'd be him or if it would be the city. No, it's the mayor. The mayor would declare that, and so we did. And I got called a fascist, so that was nice. But what it was
been there, okay. I mean, see what I've been called today on Twitter, okay. Yeah.
But what it was our way of protecting Champlin's businesses. And that night, the first 2 nights of the riots, we had a police officer or community service officer in every parking lot of every business or business center for the night, just to make sure that this didn't happen to our business owners. And I'll stand behind the decision. It's not like they were out in the neighborhoods busting you for taking your kid for a walk. That's not what it was about. It was about to be, why is this car with no license plate in this parking lot? And that's literally what happened. There's people that looted in Maple Grove, and they were cutting through Champlin, and our officers got them. So because they weren't supposed to be out, so they pulled them over. What's all this stuff in the back of your car? So they caught them.
End of the month sale at Macy's.
Yeah. And there was another car that was in a parking lot of one of our businesses with no license plates, and our cops chased them down. So I think that, like I say, I don't regret it.
It had to be a tough decision. I know that the first night, just to make it personal, New Hope had. My wife works in New Hope, and we live in Plymouth, and Plymouth didn't have a curfew.
Right.
New Hope did.
Yeah.
And my wife got off work at night, and I said, I'm going to go down there, and you're going to follow me home. Period. Just whatever. That's what, if I get pulled over, that's just what I'm going to tell the police. Look, I'm going to get my wife at work. But Plymouth didn't have one.
Yeah, neither did Crystal.
Yeah, I think Crystal did like the very last night. Maybe I'm wrong on that because I know there was some damage down by Steve-O's. But I know that Plymouth did not do it the first night or two. And it only lasted like 3 nights. It was a very short time. But I know that they had to. I don't know how I even found out that they did. I mean, I'm not out and about at 1 a.m, but
right.
The thing is, I mean, it has to be hard to make that call, and there's a part of me that's so frustrated with emergency powers and how long does an emergency last?
Yeah.
And there's also a part of me that gets being in that position of something happens, we're going to be asked, why didn't you protect the residents? Why didn't you protect the businesses?
Well, and at the time, everything was still closed anyway. So it's not like we were putting people out of business. It was, so it, I didn't like I said, I had to call him back and you start to feel like an island when literally every community around you starts in Anoka County, holy smokes. All right, well, something's going on, and I don't have all the information, so you're kind of making game time decisions and going off of, there was chatter on the internet or on social media that quote, they were coming to the suburbs.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I don't know. I don't want to find out.
Suburbs, yeah.
I don't want to find out. So it turned out later that was just manufactured by somebody, but. Yeah, so that's my view of the police. The fire department has been an interesting ride. I'm on the fire board, so we have a 5-person board that operates our fire department because we are split between 2 communities. So normally a city council would do that, but we don't have our own. So we have a fire board which currently makes up of a staff member from each, a counselor from each, and then a neutral 5th. And our neutral 5th is the retired chief from Maple Grove. So perfect. He's got all the experience, and he's close by. So our fire chief left about just over a year ago, and we've kind of had some struggles in getting a new chief named. We did have somebody selected and picked out, and he ended up staying with the community that he has worked for a long time, so that's understandable. Then we had a second candidate that just didn't pass the board, and the board made a decision to bring in an outside person on a 6-month basis to do a few things, be a neutral party and not care if the cities get mad at them. We want somebody to be honest with us and tell us what we need, and give us a true outside perspective of a needs analysis of our department, and the guy we got is freaking phenomenal. He's actually the retired chief from Plymouth, so he's very matter of fact. I mean, he's not afraid to tell us what's going on, and he's moving. He's a resident of Florida, so he's leaving to go back home here pretty soon anyway. So like I say, I prefer that than somebody coming in trying to earn the job, tell us what it needs. No, you be honest and tell us what it needs and give us a good. So he's helping write the process to hire our next chief, and I'm not a fireman, just like I'm not an engineer. I'm not a fireman, so I don't know what qualities we need exactly to the technical qualities we need of a fire chief. And then there's administrative chiefs, there's working chiefs, and there's hybrids. And our last one was both. He was an administrative chief, but he also went out and fought fires. So that's what we're working on, and that's actually taken a tremendous amount of time. And then there's always hurt feelings between the two communities over when things don't go well, right? So if this isn't going well, maybe there's a little bit of a problem with Anoka. I think that we've done a pretty good job of getting that through just by having conversations with them. And Anoka graciously invited us over to have a meeting with them and talk through some stuff. And I've individually talked to a couple of their city council members just to give my side of the story and how it got, because they're being fed. To be fair, they're being fed by their city person. I'm being fed by mine. So let's just get together and talk about. Let's just remove all that and let's just talk it through.
Did you volunteer for this, or did you just get this assigned?
I got this assigned to me, but I am happy to do it. Like, I enjoy it, and I like our firefighters. There's a big structure fire by my house. A house burned down, was totaled. 2, 3 next door to where Bruce lived. And I watched the whole thing, and these people are professionals. They're just professional people. They come in, they know what they're doing, they care very deeply about each other. So I respect the guys. It's something like the biggest fire I put out was a propane problem on my gas grill, and I had it out in a second with a fire extinguisher. These guys do a lot of things that we have never seen, and so I respect them. I'm happy to do it. The reasons to have a joint powers agreement for a fire department there's a lot of really good reasons to do that, for both financial and for coverage. I
was just going to ask that if you like that shared service.
Yeah, I mean, there's goods and bads to everything, but the nice thing is there is a significant cost savings. So that's nice. The nice thing too is the camaraderie it builds a camaraderie between two communities that normally would be very divided. So Anoka and Champlin, even though we're technically quote next door to each other, there's a river that runs right in between us. So there's not
different county,
different everything. So it's been good for that. I absolutely love the history of that department. It's been around since the 1880s. You go to the Fire Station 1 in Anoka, and they've got the uniforms from every time they change. They saved one of the uniforms. They have them hanging up in a case. The trucks are painted white because they used to use white horses back in the 1800s to go fight fire. At first, when I moved to Champlin, I thought, why are our fire trucks white? That's weird. And you learn that history. You're like, it's actually kind of cool. It's a tradition. Yeah. So I think that we're going to be fine. I think that the joint powers agreement is going to be fine. I think that we're going to get through this. We're going to hire a new chief and hopefully never have to do this again. So the chief left.
They got a lifetime contract?
No, I just mean have the plan figured out before this. So it's been a year of not fun, but I think I'm the right guy to do it. I understand it. That's why the mayor leaves me there. I understand all the nuances. I understand the department. I understand both city councils. So I think that I'm the right person from Champlin to serve on the board. And yeah.
Wow.
I support them. That's where I'm at. I support our law enforcement and firefighters.
Wow, that's good. Yeah, we have had like a really long conversation so far without mentioning anything about city finances or city regulations, which are usually the two things that people get bogged down in when they talk about the city.
Yeah, the minutia.
Well, and those are the things that are easy to get hung up on, right? They're easy to get hung up on, and most people don't pay attention to them. So, yeah, the budget, we spend a tremendous amount of time on the budget. I mean, like meeting after meeting after meeting. We meet with department heads do you really need this F-150? It gets down to that. Like, do you really need this? Do you really need that? Our city, the city of Champlin, prides itself on our tax levy compared to like any similar sized city around us. And part of that is the fire department. We don't have our own fire, so that saves a bunch of money. I know West Metro does the same thing where they have a joint fire department. But our taxes are low as compared to similarly sized cities around us.
Right.
So,
it's funny. New Hope has a shared service, and their taxes suck.
Yeah, well, when you borrow to buy a copy machine and take out a bond on that, at some point you got to pay that bill. I mean, New Hope could cut spending for the next 20 years, and their taxes would go up every year. That's how much money they owe.
Yeah, and
it's hopeless. It's hopeless. It's hopeless over there.
Yeah, we're very fiscally responsible, and our city administrator is a very fiscally conscious guy that spends a tremendous. I mean, he knows that financial management plan better than anybody, and he hired a good finance director. Our finance director retired, and he hired a good one. So yeah, we run pretty lean. Of course, the personnel is always the most expensive thing. That's true in business too. I run a business, so that's the same. Your people are what make the institution. So we have good people. They work hard. Our public works department, like they're out there. The pothole season. Finally, we got them a better pothole machine. I don't even know what you call them, but they're out there like, we could get a lot more potholes done if we just had a better machine. We're like, well, let's get you a better machine then, because we want these potholes filled.
Plus, they could take the depreciation anyway.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we that's been a big focus of mine. It's actually really been a big focus for our city council as we move forward to double down on some of these street projects. Most people in town really couldn't care less about half the other things you do. Is their street in good shape? And that's one of our biggest responsibilities. So we're doubling down on that, and we're shuffling and budgeting to some of these streets. There's so many people blaming everybody for everything with streets, but there's a big problem with streets in a lot of communities right now, and some people are blaming MnDOT for having a bad formula back in the 90s or the 80s. Some people are blaming seal coating, which is the theory I actually believe, because the seal coat you put on there actually seals the moisture down to the original lift, and then it freezes and thaws, and that's
never lasts as long as
and you can they cut out the core samples, and you can see the seal coat peeling off the top. So like maybe again, I'm not an engineer, but if somebody were to sell me on a theory of why the streets are exploding, that would be a good one to sell me on. So we're doubling down on that. We're going to get these street projects done, and then it puts us in a way better position for maintenance, just to get the ones, like my neighborhood was built in 1980 or 81. Well, 40 years is a pretty good run on a street. I think we did pretty good with that one. So we got new streets last year. It was a project that I know some people don't like. They don't like their street getting done while they're on the council because they think they're going to take a bunch of heat from their neighbors. And I couldn't tell you that. I can't say enough about it being the opposite. It was wonderful for the relationship, and it was the largest project Champlin's ever done as far as a neighborhood project. It's like 500 and something homes, and it I think maybe 300. Anyway, it was a lot. It was a big area. It was probably by your sister's too. Did she get?
She did. I think previous. She's just south of Andrews Park.
Okay,
I think they've already.
So they're on the other. Okay, the whole north side of Andrews, from Winnetka all the way over to Kentucky, from River Road down to 118th, all got redone at the same time.
So that's a chunk.
That's a chunk. Yeah. So we got through it. I was able to advocate and get a sidewalk removed that nobody wanted. Things like that. Moving streetlights, getting curbs, like different things that people wanted or didn't want.
All done at once. Yeah. They didn't want it, or they want it. Make a decision, and we'll do it now.
Yeah, and it's been great. It was great for the relationship. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that everybody's 100% happy with my performance on that, because there's some people that maybe didn't get exactly what they wanted, but overall, most of the residents that I worked with on that have my yard sign up right now. So, yeah,
that's good.
It's a good, if you're willing to do a good job and put the work in, those will do nothing but help you. So that's
a lesson in communication.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Excuse me. Have a pretty good relationship, I think, at least with the people in your, direct area. You know, you've been pretty conscious to build that. So
yeah. Well, it just comes naturally. It's like you I don't know. I'm there to help my neighbors. That's what I'm there to do on the city council. So,
what have you been hearing from them? I mean, other than what things we've already mentioned.
Really not much. I mean, literally 96% of the people of Champlin are satisfied. They either rank Champlin as good or excellent as a place to live and raise a family. So outside of a few things, can you put a sheet of ice on this park, or can you do, it's been pretty low key. So
that's good.
I like to think that means that we're doing a good job. That's what So
if you weren't, people wouldn't hesitate. I don't think people would hesitate to say so.
Yeah, so it's myself and the gentleman from Ward 4 running, and we're running just to kind of keep doing what we're doing. I don't know that any of us will run past this. I don't know what the plans are of everybody else in 2 years, but just to finish seeing the riverfront thing through, get a fire chief hired, just a few things that I want to button up, and then just kind of keep maintaining what we have, and that's my goal. So
yeah, how is Champlin, would you say, like on regulations? Some cities like Crystal had way too many, and then they had a task force of citizens come in and redid the whole thing, and the city council looked it over and really slimmed it down. Would you say that it's running fairly free, or would you say there's a lot of outdated stuff that...
Well, it's probably a hybrid, right?
Yeah.
And you oftentimes don't find those things until somebody's trying to do something. Right. So we don't have a task force that goes through the city code book or anything like that. I mean, we've removed some restrictions as far as like how big your garage can be in your backyard. There was a limit on that before, and there still is, but it's been modified some to be a little bit more quote free, where there's more space being able to be added. We used to have a cap on the number of liquor licenses that we had in town. We removed that. We just said we're not going to have a cap. If you can apply and get through the process, then you can have a permit. I feel like that's more free. That's not picking winners and losers. So, and it's funny because there's a liquor store in town that almost didn't open. It's my liquor store, the one that I go to, and they almost didn't open because the owner called and said, "How many liquor licenses do you have?" And they said, "I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 at the time. We already had that many." And he goes, "Oh, well, never mind." And the city planner, fortunately, said, "Well, hold on, we might be able to make an exception to the rules. So why don't you come in and talk to us?" So my view was, well, why do we have it if we're going to just raise it every time that somebody applies? What's the point? And it's just another process we have to go through.
Conditional use permits are an extra pain in the butt.
CUPs,
for the people who have to apply for them, pay for them. It's a process to get one of those granted. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So I would say that it's certainly more free than a lot of areas as you get closer into the middle of the heart of the Twin Cities, but it's not Custer, South Dakota either. There's rules. So
right.
So I think that we've done a pretty good job of balancing. Look, our city council and mayor, our city council as a whole is very pro-business. We want businesses to open and operate in Champlin. The ones that are there, we're doing everything we can to make sure that they stay there. There's some that have been just annihilated by the shutdowns and things like that. So we're working through. I know your opinion probably of CARES. I don't even have to ask you, but the CARES Act that came through, and we're able to use some of that money to help some of these businesses back on their feet. Which I feel like if you're getting the money, you're getting the money. They already said you're getting
right.
Let's use it to help our. The town's not the town without the businesses or the people. So let's do what we can to keep these businesses afloat.
No, and we did touch on the CARES Act on one of our episodes, and I don't think it was how it was being distributed from the state that we had a real issue with, and some of the cities too, because like they were doing grants to nonprofits, and they were doing things with it they shouldn't have been doing.
Remember, the whole thing was the legislature had no say in it,
right?
And stuff, and then there was, like you said, there was too much leeway. It was supposed to go to what Nate's talking about, COVID related issues,
right?
Hey, we've always wanted to, expand that softball field or something. No, that's not what it's supposed to be for.
Or payroll. That was in some of them too.
Yeah, that's right. But a case could be made that you don't want mass layoffs either.
For your businesses, but there were some cities that were covering payroll for their city. Remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
I won't name names.
Well,
I think we got tweeted by the mayor of Rochester.
did we?
I think so.
I missed that.
Well, where I will
Maybe
say
it was me personally.
where I will say that I understand payroll is, let's say that you had a COVID-related absence. Let's say a police officer was exposed to COVID, and they had to send him home for whatever the state guideline, which has changed. It's been 10 days, it's been 14 days, it's been a couple. So they had to send that patrol officer home, and they had to pay. We don't want, like I just got done talking about, I don't want any less coverage as far as emergency.
Right.
So now we have to pay somebody else extra to come in and cover his hours. They're using CARES Act money for that.
That's different than covering raises of, administrators.
We wanted it was the equity and inclusion management position that they wanted to fill, and so I think that was the big thing, if I remember.
Oh well. So
I know you applied for that.
Oh
too,
yeah. I was first in line. Absolutely. I couldn't wait.
You're still here, so I'm guessing you didn't get it.
I haven't heard yet, so I'm still waiting.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So we're trying. We're trying to keep everybody there.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot of incredibly sad stories about businesses that just can't recover. They're just not coming back. And so the community of Champlin's very supportive. We joke, I don't even get gas out of the city of Champlin. Like I do everything in Champlin. My wife does, my kid does, kids do. So thankfully, while they were able to do the takeout thing, most people were doing it. Now it's still not the same. Like they're not making as much, but they're just maybe like kind of putting a little bit of a gauze on their injury. So there's still some that are struggling to get back out of that. And I think that the city is entertaining. I'm not comfortable in saying that it's done because it's not, but we're entertaining some sort of work with all of them next year, say on liquor licenses, because they weren't able to sell alcohol for a quarter this year. So maybe we give them a reduction in their price for next year. Stuff like that can be budgeted in. Like I say, the budgets run so tight that this year, in order to do it, we would have to.
They've already bought their.
We've already, It's I don't know. We can't give it back to you now because we've already used that money for something else. So, but for next year, that's the plan. We're certainly talking about that. I'm going to advocate for that, push for that. I know that some neighboring communities have done stuff, like I believe Rogers has done something, and I guess I don't know who else, but I would have to imagine that any cities that want to keep their restaurants there and happy at the same time are going to do something to help them out. So
I mean, they have really struggled. It's been the restaurants and the bars that.
Well, they're still struggling.
If
I gave you 50% of your income, how long could you live? I mean,
exactly.
It's there's just no end in sight to it. Let me ask a COVID-related question. I mean, do you get? Did the businesses come to you guys ever and say, when is this going to end? Can you do something? Can you talk to somebody? Or do they bypass city people and just go right to state reps? And I mean, do you hear any of that?
I heard a little bit of that. Yes, I heard a little bit of that. Mainly asking, is Champlin going to enforce?
Oh, okay, yeah.
And but it's not. There's nothing I can do about it. Like, I'm a city councilor. There's nothing if the governor strikes an order, there's nothing I can do about it. That's going to be done through your state senator and your state rep. And I know that I've met with both of them multiple times on it and just saying, where are some of these? I believe that there's emergency powers for a reason, and they should be for an emergency. And I'm not dismissing that there's a segment of people that are greatly impacted by COVID-19. Not disputing that. I'm not saying it's a fake disease, none of that. But I am saying that as we make decisions, more people should be involved with those decisions, and it shouldn't just be one person, right? And so maybe there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes there that involves more people. I just don't see it. So my perception is one person's making all the decisions. I would prefer, if you're going to be doing these types of like, you can be open this much, or you have to close at this time, whatever these rules are, that the legislature help make that decision instead of just one person. That's been my viewpoint on it, and I don't care who the governor is. I mean, if it's a Republican or a Democrat or Libertarian, it doesn't matter to me.
Or me.
Or Andrew. There just should be more. They're all elected for a reason, right?
Yeah.
They're all there for a reason. So that's like, it'd be like, to relate it to a city council, that'd be like the mayor just decides everything for 6 months, and they don't include the city council on it. That's not why we're there. So that's been my
Right. Well, I think in effect that's what happened. You have a governor who has decided things that really, at a city level, you should be deciding how your city is run, and it's just like, no, these are the rules.
Yeah.
Your businesses can only do this, your schools can only do this, and that should be handled by school boards and city councils.
Yeah,
and
it's very local. So that part. I mean, it's starting to feel. I'm not going to say normal. I won't say normal, but it's starting to feel like things are kind of coming back, and we're kind of getting back to normal. My kids actually go back to, the kids that are still in school actually go back to in-person school next week, 2 days a week.
Oh, that's good.
And
I was just going to ask you, because my nephew's doing 2 days a week.
Yeah, and
he's in Oxbow Elementary.
Okay, I got one in Jackson and one at Champlin Park now. But I was talking to a coworker whose daughter is in Rockford, and they've been back for 2 weeks now, 2 days a week, same thing.
Yeah.
And he said the days that she gets to go to school, she's noticeably in a better mood. So the mental toll that this has taken, I felt so terrible for my kids. Like when the whole thing started, I've been at work the whole time. So not much changed for me. I was always a germaphobe. I was a germaphobe before it was cool. So that part was okay for me to wash my hands and whatever. But the kids, man, they were just like depressed. It was so bad. And finally, parents kind of started to see, and rightfully so, like we didn't know what we were dealing with quite yet. So let's just see what we're dealing with. And as we figure that out, that's my point with the schools. They're all hanging out with each other right now anyway. So you might as well let them go back and learn.
By the way, the kids trade masks often during the day, too.
Oh, yeah.
Here, let me try your mask. Yeah, okay. That's
This one tastes like glue. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed you don't want to put Burt's Bees and put your mask back on because your eyes will start burning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
you germaphobes. And here I was sneezing and doing everything, and we got germaphobe over here.
I can get through. I take a lot of vitamins, and I just don't like being sick. So that's the reason I'm a germaphobe is not for anything other than I don't like being sick. And
like I said, my wife had it, and I know I had it, and I was asymptomatic. I said I got the world's greatest immune system. Don't worry, I won't get sick, and I didn't have nothing. Strong like bull.
Yeah, and that's happened for a lot of people. I don't want to get anything. So, if I can avoid it, I'm just going to avoid it. But
it's good to know your kids are back in school, and it's good to know that we might actually have sports again pretty soon.
Yeah, it sounds like they reversed the football and soccer, right? Is that what I heard?
And volleyball.
And volleyball.
You know what?
That's what
one of my favorite things is to go watch Champlin Park football. You guys were so good last year. Mm-hmm. I was so looking forward to it, and now we're actually going to get to do it. Do we get to go to the game?
I really highly doubt it. But hey, the beautiful thing.
I'm sneaking in.
The beautiful thing is Quad Cities TV's live streams that thing, so you can watch it live. I mean, at this point, I'll take what I can get. I was so happy.
That's okay.
I'm a baseball fanatic, and that was my biggest depressing factor is that there was no baseball to be. And then when they finally came out with the 60-game season, I thought, well, better than nothing. At least there's some. For those 3 hours, I can just forget about the rest of it.
I still can't get used to watching baseball with no fans.
I kind of like the cutouts. They're nice.
The one guy, the Weekend at Bernie's guy, was pretty funny. But I'll tell you what. There's one thing I do like. It's that you hear the chatter.
Yeah.
You hear, I got it.
Yeah.
Go throw to third. You can hear the third base coach. Stop, you idiot. Don't run. I mean, you can. Just to think that I played softball and had fans at my softball game.
Yeah.
But the Twins can't have, any fans in a 40,000 seat stadium.
Yeah.
We went off about it long ago, and I won't chew my food twice. But yeah, so I mean, it has to be. I know me as a kid, playing baseball and football kept me out of so much trouble.
Yeah.
So much trouble that I would have caused, and so I can't imagine not having sports. And here's the thing too. Back when you and I were in school, Jay, and we had 6 TV channels.
Yeah.
I mean, you seeing your friends, sports and school. Mm-hmm. That's where you saw them. You didn't see them anywhere.
Or for me, band practice. Yeah.
Yeah. Choir hour.
Not choir hour.
No, it was. What did you do? You had Alec Baldwin as your Cub Scout leader, right?
Word.
Yeah.
Where do you come up with this stuff?
It just comes to me.
Yeah. So, anything we missed, or
No, I
anything
think-
you
Hey,
want
wait
to
a minute.
cover?
There is something we missed. Where do we
What?
find you on the internet? Where do you order a sign?
So-
how do we get a hold of you?
Donations.
You can find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. I also have a website. I'll spell it for you because my name is weird, but it's www.natetruesdell.com. NateTruesdell. That's also my Nate Truesdell for Champlin City Council Facebook page. So, and I even have an Instagram, but that one's pretty boring. That's just Nate for Council or Nate for Champlin. I mean, that's how much I use it.
Yeah.
So yeah, check me out. If you have any questions, there's ways to get a hold of me, emails and phone calls and all that kind of stuff. But I appreciate you guys' time.
Absolutely. We're very glad you came in.
All right.
Good. Good luck to you, and go kick some butt.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Yep.
Well, I mean, another great interview. And
You know, I tell you what, I'm going to toot our own horn a little bit. God bless us, because where in any other forum does a local candidate have the platform that they have here?
yeah.
You know, I mean, you really get in depth and you really get away from the 30-second sound bites and that kind of crap. And it's just, it's nice to, I have a personal attachment to Champlin. I have family there. And so it's just, it's such a great venue to be able to do this here and really get into things.
Well, and we've known Nate since before he was a
Yeah.
councilman. So,
Longtime friend, even before there was a show.
yeah.
By
that's
the way,
true.
what episode are we on? 178? 179?
Yes, 178.
Now, my contract only runs through 199. Are we going to do this
Really?
next year? Are we stopping at 200?
No, we're not stopping.
We're not stopping at 200?
As long as there's problems, we're going to hang around.
Well, then I'm going to do this from the grave if that's
know.
the case.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll get my agent working on an extension then. You know, those arbitration years are behind us now.
Yes.
So. Okay. Well, Jay, you know, I guess we said great interview with Nate. Best wishes to him. And, you know, I'm really starting to enjoy these interview shows. Even if I'm not the star, I'm really starting to enjoy them.
I think you've always enjoyed them.
Yeah, more now.
Yeah.
We're better at it, I think, too.
That might be.
And I think, you know, we seem to keep things moving and all that. And I think it's just, maybe we're just improving all over. But it was a good show. So why don't you sign us off here? The SOS sign off sermon. Styling and profiling, jet flying, limousine riding, suffering of succotash, the Roddy of Piper. Let's go, Jay. Give it to us.
All right. Well, there you heard it. You know, we got to have a nice long conversation with Nate Truesdell, who is currently in Ward 3 of Champlin and is running for another term. He's somebody who saw that there were issues in his city, and believe me, back then there were, and we didn't really get into that, but he's somebody that saw that there was an opportunity to jump in to make things better, and he went after it. And that's what we preach here on this show all the time. You know, starting off on a commission. He was on the planning commission. Ryan Sabas, who is in Ward 4, who he referred to, was on the park board. And now they're both serving on the city council and have helped, I'd say, right the ship and make Champlin a more functional city, which has... You know, it's had growing pains, and you've heard a little bit about that, and it was kind of trial by fire at the beginning, but you know what? That's what it takes, you know, and a lot of times we sit here and we don't know what we can do, or we complain on social media, and we argue back and forth, but nothing really gets accomplished other than getting people all whipped up about something. If you don't govern... You don't change anything, and so that's why it's so important for you to think about that going forward. Now, you know, things are spoken for this year, but maybe next year your city has school board races, or you know, maybe get the wheels turning for a couple years out from now. You got to kind of know what you're doing. I mean, if you have odd year elections, you know, and some of your cities do as well, I'd say that you better know by November 30th, whether, you're interested in starting to get the wheels moving a little bit. You have about a year if you're looking at even your elections 2 years out. Because when you go last minute, it doesn't pay off. You don't have enough time to know why you're running, to be able to put an organization together, to be able to think about what you want to do, how you want to do it, to gather resources, to gather donations. I mean, because you can start, and get some one year, you can get more the next year. It really benefits you to start early. And I think with all of the things that we're facing, I mean, they're talking about a possible, get ready to be locked down to 2022 and things aren't going to change. And we have a federal government and we have a state government that is completely out of control. The only way to do it is to get in and get some skin in the game. And I don't like the things that they're proposing, and I'm sure most of you don't like the things that they're proposing. We surely hear about it often enough, all y'all who email us and call us and text us and see us places and flag us down. You won't believe what's going on in my city. You won't believe, what I heard is going on over at the county. And sure enough, there's always something. People who love power seem to flock to power, but it's people like Nate and people like Jim, who we had in a couple episodes ago, who want to do something differently, who don't want to just acquire power for themselves and look cool and preen around and, like some rooster. But you know what? It's guys like this that actually care about their community. I mean, Nate, he's well known in his neighborhood because he's involved and they trust him and they care about him and vice versa. And he's proved that he cares about them. And Jim has, if you were to drive through Crystal, you would see Jim Adams signs everywhere. I don't remember how many he told me he has out, but a lot. And they're all over the city. It just proves that these people who have gotten involved in changing their city for the better, that it does something. It catches the hopes and aspirations of people that even in a tough time like this, where people are losing jobs, businesses are folding, people are having trouble making ends meet, that it can still happen. And I believe it can still happen. And this is where you come in. It's about what we do here and now. It's about getting on an advisory commission here and now. It's about being involved in our community in varying ways here and now. It is about taking what we see and telling our neighbors about it. It is all about getting the word out there and getting people mobilized. It is about standing up and having some pride in your city, in your school district, and doing things to make sure that those who want to acquire power, those who want to shut other people down, don't have that opportunity. Somebody's got to stand in their way. And who's it going to be? We're two people that have a couple of microphones, and sometimes we bring in a third for a guest, but we're just two people. We can use these microphones to shout that word out as loud as we can, but it's really up to you in the end. You share these podcasts, you like them, you comment on them. It's all of us working together as a community. And I understand it. The state's a big place, but really, it takes us working together, and we can do it. We can bring together 10,000 people, because that's not even 1% of like-minded people in this state, to be able to sit in these seats and govern from a way that enhances freedom, that get spending under control, that reduces debt, that does things to make our communities places where we want to live. But it won't be done if you're just sitting at home watching Masked Singer or whatever the newest terrible creation is on TV. You got to actually get in, jump in with both feet. Now, if you need help with doing that, we'd love to help you. You get a hold of us at COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. That is COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com, and we'll be more than happy to help you try to figure out how to get involved in your community. You want to send us what's going on in your community, we're happy to take that too, and we'll podcast about it, we'll write about it, because it's going to take, I hate saying this, Andrew, it's going to take a village to raise a state. But we can do it because we believe in you. We know what we've had to go through to get where we're sitting, and I'm not going to say we're nobody special. We're nobody special. I mean, not really. There's a whole bunch of you out there like us, and we know that you can do it too. So that's why we say that we love you, Minnesota. But now it's your turn to get to work.